Sorry, good morning. Derek DeBroyak, Assistant Commissioner for Student Affairs and Secondary Initiatives from the Technical College System of Georgia, representing Commissioner Greg Dozier.
Thank you.
Good morning. Art Recesso, Vice Chancellor for Academic Innovation for the University System of Georgia.
Great.
Good morning. Lynn Riley, the President of the Georgia Student Finance Commission.
Good morning. Stacey Evans. I represent House District 57, which is parts of the city of Atlanta.
Good morning, Scott Steiner, the President and CEO of Phoebe Putney Health System in Southwest Georgia.
Good morning. I'm Trey Shepard, and I apologize for being late. I am from Sandersville. My family's in the trucking business, and I also serve as the chairman of the Technical College System. So I apologize for missing the first meeting, but glad to be serving with you.
Good morning, Carrie Pritchard with the Department of Education. I know it says Tiffany Taylor. I'm standing in for Tiffany Taylor, who is standing in for Superintendent Woods. It is a busy week, what can I say? But happy to be here.
You're up.
Hey, good morning. Josh Stevens, Georgia Department of Economic Development.
Thank you. And again, I know we have some who are sick. We have one House member who's moving a son into college in Florida. So our thoughts and prayers are with those just as much as those who are sick and under the weather. So, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. So, in typical Coweta fashion, we knock stuff over. But also, we like to give a warm welcome. And so, what I want to do, I've got some people that are very important to this community and have been for some time. And so, first up, I'd like Representative Lynn Smith, who is my representative and our representative here in Noonan, and just a dear friend and very important person for the role that she played in bringing college and career academies to this state. So, Madam Chair, would you like to, I don't know, just go maybe up to the mic here and welcome everyone, please.
Like that. Got it, y'all. Good morning. First of all, how many of you had trouble parking? I did. Welcome to Central, first of all. This is Central's, when I taught here, it was Central High School, and I taught during desegregation, and it was a time of change, turmoil, as one would expect. But Central was central to our desegregation, and it is now central to our approach now to education and to learning. So this building can change with times. It has always been guided by a wonderful nonpartisan school board. But I want to just take a second and give you a little bit of a background, because you've got the next role with Senate Resolution 175. You've got to break a few things too to get your objective achieved. So Central is a model of change. To me, it's a magic spot. It never should be what it is right now, but it is. It's thriving, and it's guiding. In the late 1990s, I had just finished my chairmanship with the Chamber of Commerce, and I was part of, as our community was, the same people back then are here with their organizations now, but the steering committee tackled the problem of not being able to graduate anybody who could be hired, which was not untypical at that time. And so this steering committee realized that to achieve what it had to achieve, more people needed to be at the table. And so I'm a Republican. I was a minority, very minority person at that time. It was Democratic-controlled General Assembly, Democratic executive branch, Governor Barnes. But Governor Barnes listened to our school board and believed in its need to reach out and find some way to break down some of the impediments to learning. And he came up with the phrase, busting silos. So we're still busting silos, but because of that and because of what happened, we have been able now to help our businesses, our industries, give our students hope if they don't see themselves academically inclined. So this is a phenomenal sweet spot. And if you ever want to have a hearthstone to touch, always think of Central and talk to some of the people who were the harbingers like you are now. So breaking the silos of learning was not only happening in education. it was happening in the legislature. And I'll be the first to tell you, I got schooled when I got up there because I had to carry the first budget initiative to begin this concept. In the late 1990s, it was $7 million. That's about the equivalent of $20 million now. You think I could do it without having everybody after me and after the money? The answer is no, because everybody's protecting their silos at the Capitol, their pots, their this, their that. But I had a good backup with the governor who was supporting this. And so we were able in the General Assembly to also let go of the things that we felt belonged to us, which is again what has to happen with change. I want to thank all of you for coming here today. This is so significant because as our economy changes, our population changes, everything changes, we've got to change. But let me tell you, there's no bigger fight than watching somebody fight over a pot of money. And then on top of that, there's no other bigger fight than watching a particular area of education giving up something. But everybody in the end commits to what's best for the student, what's best for the community. So I don't see anybody here who was back there during the wars when we first developed this concept. But what is so encouraging to me is that it has not faded. This ability to challenge and to move forward and to bring about these wonderful changes in education. So it's your time. It's the time of the board. It's the time of this committee that is so important. And I thank you for that. I thank you for your service.
Okay, next up we got Dr. Evan Horton, who is our awesome superintendent right here for the Coweta County school system, and Dr. Horton's just doing a great job. He hadn't had to deal with my kids yet, which is good. So I try to be nice to him now in case he ever does. So, but Dr. Horton, thank you for your leadership and just leading Coweta County school systems. We're continuously have some of the best accreditation scores in the history of accreditation scores, and without your leadership and the great people you put around you, that just wouldn't happen. So thank you for being here.
Thank you,
for
Mr.
having
Chairman.
us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Just want to welcome you to the Central Educational Center and to the Coweta County School System. On behalf of our Board of Education and Central Educational Center CEO Mark Whitlock, just want to welcome you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. I hope that this meeting is fruitful for you, and can't wait to have the opportunity here in a few minutes to talk to you about the difference that accelerated career opportunities are making for our kids right here in Coweta County. So welcome. As you're here, if there's anything that you need, by all means ask me, or probably ask the guy that knows, Mr. Mark Whitlock. But I am excited that you're here today. It's a great opportunity for us to showcase this wonderful, wonderful facility and all the great things that are going on in our school system. So welcome to each of you. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Julie Post. She is our president of West Georgia Technical College, and we just appreciate her. She's been with us now for what, about 3 years?
Push it, 2.
2 years.
2 and a half.
Sorry. Well, you're doing such
Still
a
a
great
work in
job. It just
progress.
seems longer, so.
Good morning, Senator Brass and committee. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today. Part of what's so important about technical colleges is building relationships between the individuals in our communities and the companies that we're trying to serve. Workforce development is certainly our goal, and dual enrollment is critical. It's incredibly critical to that. I'm going to take a point of privilege here to say that we just crested over 7,000 in enrollment as of last night. Almost 2,000 of those are dual enrollment students. So students are starting to take advantage of the opportunity. The tide is changing in what college means. And so we are just incredibly grateful that you're here to see firsthand what we do in this community and many of our other communities in the state, and how technical colleges are working very closely with the high schools and trying to build the workforce that we need. So if you need anything from us, we're here, and we look forward to speaking with you the rest of today. So thank you.
And Dr. Post touched on it. It's things like this they're about partnerships, and talk about bringing the business community together with the education community. You've got to have people that can broker those types of relationships, And we've got a great one right here in our community with Candace Boothby. Candace, if you'd come on up. Candace is our CEO of our Noonan Coweta Chamber of Commerce and another dear friend, and helps put me in my place from time to time. Candace, go ahead.
Thank you, Matt, and welcome everybody. Thrilled to have you here in the home of Prosperity's front door. On behalf of the business community in our Noonan Coweta Chamber, it's a beautiful Chamber of Commerce day, and I am so grateful for the work that you are doing, to the two Matts for your leadership, and the fact that you've taken an interest and that you're actually here visiting the home of the original Career Academy. Our community has a rich history of collaboration between educators and the business community, and we also have a very rich history of innovation, as you can tell from the Career Academy. Some people don't know that the film industry actually started right here in Coweta County back in the 80s. And then we also are very proud of the fact that we birthed the German apprenticeship model that is now spread throughout the state. So you're in for a treat, and I just can't say thank you enough for all the work that you do. And Matt, thank you. We appreciate your leadership, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, Candace. All right, next up, I've got Phil Trickey. Phil is actually the chair of our board of directors here at the CEC, and Phil's retired from Yamaha, executive over there, and was very instrumental in helping get the Georgia CAP program up and running, and just another one of those that's instrumental in bringing the business relationships to cross over with the educational relationships and making things like this happen. So, Phil, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. I was told to keep my comments to 30 seconds. Anyone that knows me knows that that's going to be impossible, but I'll do my best. I want to welcome you. Thank you for your participation here today. As this is the first college and career academy, very innovative, but what makes it unique and replicable is the relationships between business, students, and parents to determine the needs of the students, the needs of the industry and the community, so that we are graduating people with the skills to do today's jobs. And I think that this has been a great collaboration. I think it's been replicated over 50 times, so you see that going. But whether, and I've got 30 seconds, so I can't go through all the programs, but whether it's dental hygiene, nurse practitioners, welders, film industry, TV industry, technology, the skills the students get at the high school level prepare them for living wage jobs right out of high school. And that is important to them, it's important to the industry, and it's important to their parents. Thank you so much for being here and for supporting these programs, because without your work and the House bills that have gone into making this possible, none of this could work. So we really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil. Oh, thank you. And for the record, we had some Senate bills in there too, so. All right, and last but certainly not least, we got Dr. Brendan Kelly, who's our president of our University of West Georgia, who does have a campus here or it's not a campus, it's a
It is a campus.
It is a campus.
It's a beautiful campus.
I forget, there's one word I'm not supposed to use. So it's a campus. That's the good word. So, but Dr. Kelly has been with us for a few years now, and really just hit the ground running and really embedding himself into the communities that University of West Georgia is in, and just really grown that university, and just a great place and a great man leading the charge over there. So, Dr. Kelly, thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the committee being here, and I'm going to echo a lot of the comments that my colleagues said. There is not a silver bullet in education. For us at the University of West Georgia, as the public university in this region, it's all about partnership. So I will tell you that we have partnerships with so many of the colleagues that just came up. With Dr. Post and West Georgia Technical College, we have Go West Early, so that we can make certain that we're an educational partner in the journeys of so many students who are at West Georgia Tech, and for those students who are at the University of West Georgia who would be a better fit at West Georgia Tech. And that type of seamless transition between institutions creates less stress for students. We have a rich partnership with Coweta County school system, especially with our Georgia Best program. One of the challenges that we have in education is teacher retention. With both Cobb County and Coweta County, we have the ability to have the school district provide graduate degrees for professional educators in both of those counties. And that creates new opportunities for them, both financially and in terms of career advancement. We just launched a partnership with Douglas County School System, one that is also in partnership with Great Point Studios, because the $4 billion a year that we do in the entertainment industry in the state of Georgia is a number that I hope grows, and only grows if we feed that talent pipeline. And that starts in high school, it moves through a university, and then it goes out into the marketplace. And finally, we just started a customized dual enrollment program with Carroll County Schools. Go West Early. Why? Because they have a capacity issue that needed to be solved, and if the superintendent of one of the school systems that we're in service to has a problem, then the University of West Georgia has a problem that we want to help solve as well. From my vantage point, us working together and finding the place that is the right fit for each student, the right pathways, is what we're discussing today and in so many other conversations around the state, and we're grateful to be a partner in that work. I'm particularly grateful that you're having this conversation here in a set of communities where all of the education leaders work together in very seamless fashion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly.
You know, if you sit and listen there to those 6 folks, they talked about partnerships, they talked about students, and one of the words that Scott and I were talking about that we heard 2 weeks ago, and you'll notice here the word that we use on the agenda today is accelerated. The crossroads that are education and career decisions are, in my opinion, a lot of the reason that we're here. But as I've said before, if we're simply, from an education standpoint, trying to find the soft spot on the wall where we've been beating our head before to try to tackle problems, we're probably just going to continue to have a headache. And I know that that's the purpose that we're all here. And when Irene and I, and she's going to come and talk to us for a few minutes, we were together in Indianapolis. I guess it's been, I don't know, a month, 2 months, whenever it was, this summer. And there was a word that was continued to use, and that word was credential. But that word credential, in the context of what we were talking about that day, was not the same credential word. And so I'll end with this, and that is my way of thinking that day was changed in thinking and now looking towards and forward to how are we preparing future workforce, regardless of age, and when we're attracting them to that career. You know, it used to be we talked about it 18 to 22, and then we talked about high school, and now we're talking about middle schoolers and simply exposing folks and our youngest learners to career pathways and opportunities. And so what can we, collective we, everyone here, do to accelerate the opportunity to gain that credential, which then leads to a life of continued learning and a successful career. So, Irene, your accelerated career overview is the topic that we're going to task you with today in talking to this group.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Irene Munn, and I wear 2 hats today. Last time I was wearing the hat, and still do, as being on the board of the Georgia CAN Network, our college and career academies, 54 college and career academies all across our state. And I'm thrilled to be part of that board as we work to do programs just like this and ensure that policymakers understand that work. Today, I'm also wearing the hat of I do technical assistance for the Charter System Foundation. We have 48 charter systems across our state. The large majority of those charter systems do innovation through a college and career academy, and I'm thankful that former Senator Dan Weber, our executive director, is here today, and I appreciate the work that the Charter System Foundation does. The board of the Charter System Foundation 2 years ago said we need more school systems understanding the accelerated career pathway for high school students. So we began educating school systems for the last 2 years first in what exactly is it, the accelerated career high school path. and then also helping with technical assistance and creating those exact same partnerships that you're going to see today. 2 weeks ago, you looked at a traditional high school diploma path. What they're doing at the 4C Academy is ensuring that the 30 hours of dual enrollment is reserved for academic instruction, because you can see the traditional high school path is the way we all graduated, heavy academics. And if you're getting an elective, if you're getting CTAE, a great CTAE program, that's really your only technical credentials you might be getting. The rest of your high school diploma is all very academic driven. So we ask the question a lot, is this high school student, are they ready for a career? Maybe, maybe not. And in order for them to go on into post-secondary instruction, either they have to use their dual enrollment wisely, which is exactly what the Phoebe partnership did to make sure they're using dual enrollment wisely. And the goal of the Phoebe program under traditional high school path is that they will be getting their associate degree at the age of 19, not 18. So fast forward today, and we're going to talk to you about the accelerated career path. In 2015, you guys changed the law. It was Senate Bill 2. For a long time, we called it Senate Bill 2 until State Board rule went in and changed it to either option A or option B. And then another year went by, and the State Board decided they changed the name again, and that's why you have traditional or accelerated career. But what this means is that you're only doing 2 years of high school academics, and then you're turning and fully focusing on technical education and graduating for college, technical college, in order to get your high school diploma. So here's the accelerated, the law, the state law as it relates to the accelerated career path. You can either do it by approved 2 TCC list. You guys last year 2 weeks ago had that list in your folder. We'll provide it again for you. This is the 2 TCC list that is recognized as high demand careers. And then, or you could get a technical college diploma, or you could get an associate degree and then get your high school diploma. In 2015, if you remember, dual enrollment was fully open and paid for. There were no limits. Fast forward House Bill 444. We put limits. They were good limits. They were the right limits, but they caused a stumbling block for this program right here. Is Cole going to speak? Cole is one of the first accelerated career graduates. He got an associate degree because it was fully paid for. Without Senate Bill 86 that you passed, these students were no longer able to get an associate degree because it wasn't funded. But you also changed the law in 2017 to allow any accelerated career graduate to go on to get their associate degree, and Hope Grant would pay for it. You got to remember about Hope Grant. Hope Grant only pays for technical courses. Hope Scholarship pays for academic courses, okay? So this is the only path for any student, whether they're a C student or above, it doesn't matter. Any path for an associate degree is through the accelerated career path. But with the change in Senate Bill 86, but again, it's not permanent, it's only 3 years, we're back to allowing the students that you're about to learn about in this program, they're able to get the associate degree. And our goal, back to your comments, Chairman Dubnik, is how do we accelerate them faster into the workforce? And you also asked that we make sure, what can we do better? So number one is to simplify. The overarching need, just look at this slide and think of yourself as a parent, and then look at the different types of funding that you have to access, depending upon, is it academic, is it technical, all of this stuff, you know. But we believe that this accelerated career path, that if I'm walking out the door with technical credentials, to your point, at the age of 18, or an associate's degree at the age of 18, I'm ready to go to work. And then even better, if I can take that associate's degree at 18 and do a 2+2 arrangement with a great college like West Georgia, University of West Georgia, then I'm going to work at 20, not 22. So our goal today is, and for you guys throughout the entire Senate Resolution Study Committee, simplify. Simplify funding, so it makes a lot of sense. Simplify what is high demand. When you look at this 2 TCC list, this is different from the Hope Career Grant list. And I think Hope Career Grant means High Demand Career Initiative. Not 100% sure about that because it's an interesting list, but you guys add things to the Hope Career Grant list regularly. This past year, you added criminal justice. If that's not a high demand area, I don't know what is, but I don't think that's on this 2 TCC list or accelerated career list. So our goal, again, is to simplify as it relates to what we believe is high demand and incentivize in the types of these programs so that the funding and the simplification and the streamlining ensures that we're getting kids into well-paying jobs at 18 and 20. So let me turn it over to Mark so you learn a lot more about this wonderful path.
Mark is really the godfather of college and career academies. He, along with Joe Harless and community members from around here, got together and really started this idea. And this school here is now it is the first college and career academy in our state. It was once a middle school. In fact, I went to middle school. If anybody needs a behind-the-scenes tour of the principal's office, I can do that. But Mark is just a great leader and a visionary, but more importantly, he's able to carry out the vision that's put out there. And so, Mark, thank you for all that you do for not just this community, but all you do for this state. So, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Chairman, thank you. Committee members, thank you. Welcome to Coweta County. Welcome to Central Educational Center. We have partnered with each and all of you in different ways over the years, and we couldn't have done what we do without that partnership. So we appreciate that very, very much. The first question that I'm asking you to think about today, when you hear about accelerated career, can students in high school succeed in these programs that were originally designed for adults? Can they actually do this? And we're focused today at CEC on the manufacturing environment. So you're going to hear people talk about that. You're going to see people talk about that. And the first thing I want to ask Jake to do, Jake, if you'll roll the video, please. We ask instructors, could students succeed? Here's what they said.
I find that they have a drive to get it done. They have the ability and the capability of starting new and fresh, and they have more of a incentive when it comes to their certificate programs to complete the program. That way they're graduating high school.
They're on par with each other. The high school students, I find, working with them during the day, it's inspiring because they are younger and they don't really necessarily, not all of them have an idea of what it is they want to do, but when they get that spark and they find out that they actually want to be here and they want to do this with the rest of their life, they work extremely hard. And it's all inspiring, really, to see the amount of high schoolers that come here and perform at the same level as adults that we have in the program.
Pairing work-based learning with accelerated career is important.
Very important role in my program, especially with the kids starting at age 15 and actually getting them employed part-time, where the sponsor companies, employ them. We go through all the training, they go through the testing, working on the certifications, the diplomas, and eventually their associate's degree. It's been an excellent program, and I find it's the most beneficial thing around for them.
All right, so the next question I hope we think about is what are some of the unique programs that you can design because of accelerated career? Jake, if you'll put the slide up, the Georgia CAT Partnership, Georgia Consortium for advanced technical training. Probably, certainly for us, the number one in terms of being first, the first accelerated career program started 2016, just after you all passed the original accelerated career law, Senate Bill 2 in 2015. Jake, we had some national media take a look at the program. Here is a clip from Georgia media, from WABE, talking with those involved in that program.
Would you send your 15-year-old child to work in a factory? Today, Georgia officials held a ceremony for a new state law that makes that possible. Now they just have to convince enough parents to embrace the new German-style apprenticeship program meant to create more skilled workers. WAB's Susanna Capilouto has the story.
Martin Plyer is proud of the Bright Clean factory he runs in Noonan, about 40 miles southwest of Atlanta.
If you look around in the shop, it's not dirty, it's not dark, and it's not, dangerous.
Here, workers make parts used by manufacturers of flat glass and other building materials. It's a subsidiary of the German company Grunzebach. Plyer came to the U.S. 5 years ago and realized he would soon have a hiring problem.
I was like, what are we going to do to replenish our workforce? Because a lot of great, talented people that I have working here in the shop will retire very soon.
He quickly discovered that America doesn't have the pipeline of skilled workers Europeans have had for over 100 years. It's an intricate system where young people spend 3 years working and going to school to become certified in one of over 350 jobs. So Plyer had a crazy idea.
Take what works very well in Germany, the apprenticeship program, and grow your own. Make sure that you get the skills that you need.
Other companies around the U.S. have dabbled in apprenticeships, but they all start after high school. Plyer wanted the exact German model, which starts with 15-year-olds. He found 7 other companies in his county to participate in an apprenticeship program, and then together they all had to sell the idea to parents.
He said, "Mama, this is what I've been wanting." And I was like, "Oh."
Lanita Henderson recalls the moment her son Josiah told her he wanted to be an apprentice instead of a traditional high schooler. He had just met Martin Plyer and some Georgia education officials.
They came to our school and got all the 9th graders in the cafeteria and started talking about, hey, there's this program, new pilot program. So I was like, this is a good job opportunity.
About 30 kids applied for 11 apprentice spots in industrial mechanics. They'll follow a German curriculum that's been adjusted to accommodate the local school system.
In the mornings, we're going to have to get up super early and go to the companies and apprenticeship, and then go to West Georgia Tech and take some college level courses there. And then we're going to end the day at our high school.
And if Josiah does this for 3 years, he'll have earned about $25,000 and get
a high school diploma, possibly your associate's degree, and then the certificate of something or other from the Germans.
He will actually be fully certified by Germany as an industrial mechanic. Josiah's parents are both college educated, and it took some soul searching to share their son's excitement. They toured the factory and needed reassurances that their child would be safe.
There's all kinds of safety. There's getting your finger cut off safety. Then also you've got, here's a kid who's maybe 15, going to be in an environment of all adults.
And then there were child labor laws. Martin Plyer says he worked through those too.
OSHA came in and said, this is possible and this is not possible. And as long as they're classified as a student and they're always under supervision, they can do pretty much everything.
Georgia lawmakers fully support Plyer's efforts and even tweaked state law to help make it happen. If the program is successful, officials hope to spread the apprenticeship throughout the state. For WABE News, I'm Susanna Capilouto.
One of the great partnerships in this process has been with Georgia Tech and the Georgia Manufacturing Extension Partnership. I'm going to ask my friend and one of the real leaders in the MEP statewide, Larry Alford, to come up and let's talk with employers. Larry.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark. And it's a real pleasure to be with you as part of the Enterprise Innovation Institute at Georgia Tech. We serve small to medium manufacturers across the state, and workforce is always the #1 issue that the manufacturers want to talk about. So we're often introducing the manufacturers to their educational partners, and many of them don't have a strong relationship with their educational partners. And I can tell you, anybody who has employment location within driving distance of the CEC hears about the CEC as well as their local educational partners. And so today we have a panel of 4 manufacturing companies, each representing 4 different counties who all offer apprenticeship and work-based learning programs with CEC students. So I'd like to invite you to stand and move forward. We have from Coweta County, Cason Industries. Cason manufactures commercial hardware and accessories for food service, industrial, and truck body industries. We have Bill Zeller here, who is HR manager, and also Ken New, who is manufacturing engineering manager. And you stand as well, please. Then from Fulton County, we have Gimu Valves, represented today. And Gimu designs and manufactures valves, measurement, and control systems for liquid, vapors, and gases. And this is Jay Tompkins, production manager. From Fayette County, we have Gerisheimer, who is a developer and manufacturer of primary packaging and delivery systems for drugs and cosmetics. And Nicole Hyman, who is the head of global training, is here with us today, all the way from Germany. And we appreciate you making the effort to be with us today. And from Troup County, Weiler Forestry, designer and manufacturer of purpose-built forestry equipment, including wheel skidders and more. And Noah Zaire, Director of Operations, here with us today. So we have a few questions to pose to the panel. They'll offer their responses, and if you have questions, we'd invite you to voice them as well. So Bill, we'll start with you. Tell us about your workforce needs and your challenges in hiring and retaining technical talent.
Well, I'm pretty sure I'm like a lot of the other companies that are here. We, excuse me, we have a great need. We continue to have a need for skill-based employees coming in. We've been a lucky recipient to be part of the apprenticeship program when it started in 2016 to date. We have 3 apprentices that are working for us now, and I will literally tell you they hit the floor running. We could probably use 20 more right now. If they were available and those students were out there, we would be wanting to partner with the local education systems and making it work, because it is, as everyone knows, the last couple of years has really been tough finding labor, much less skilled labor.
Invite the others to contribute to that question. And
Absolutely.
Step up to the microphone, yeah.
Yeah, so I can put it in very short sentences, although it's a topic I would love to speak for hours, because I've been passionate about that for years. So we have 2 ramp-ups. We are facing 2 ramp-ups. We're doubling our plant in size 2 times, from 200 to 400 and from 400 to 800 employees. So I don't need to elaborate that anymore. And the most critical point for us is to have technical staff in those very, very challenging careers. We need staff that kind of works with our high quality production environment. We're talking about robotics, we're talking about camera systems, not something like taking care of oil that spoils out of machines. And for us, the dual enrollment system is the perfect match for that. We've been working in the system or with the system since it has been established, and we are very happy. And we could not receive the new projects or move the new projects to Peachtree City without having the dual enrollment system. So this was the #1 reason why our customer decided to move all those projects to Peachtree City, to Georgia. So much like our other colleagues here, we're also growing exponentially and in the planning phases for a new state-of-the-art facility here in the Atlanta metro area. And the youth in these programs bring the technology and the learning from the new technology, really. You know, a lot of the people that are in manufacturing now are, you know, my age, nearing retirement, and our skill sets are, you know, built over the years and still valuable, but the skill sets that these students bring, the new technology and the learning of these new technologies helps us as a manufacturer bring the state-of-the-art facilities. And
with us planning a new facility, the students will be key to some of the technologies that we can bring into this new facility.
And I just duplicate what all of these have been saying also. The biggest thing for us is we've been sending work out already just because we can't get enough employees, we can't get enough welders, machinists. And so we'd like to add on, but if we can't keep adding more welders by the rate we need, we're going to have to send it somewhere else. And recently we've been sending it to our sister plant in Iowa. So it'd be nice to be bringing that in. We've been trying to bring more in every week, but we're moving through getting some welders as we work forward, but I could use 40 or 50 more today.
Well, Jay, you've already addressed it a bit, but when you look at your future and the workforce needs, how are they changing, and are certain technical skills becoming more important?
Well, the change is the technology of the future. And, as manufacturing grows and improves, and the technology and the skill sets required to manufacture tomorrow are different than they are today. And, future facilities have to be able to produce at a higher rate with a less cost than yesterday. And it takes new technologies to do that. And these technologies can only come through education. And it's the youth that drive this. They're so excited and so hungry to learn and to bring these new technologies and new ideas to manufacturing. It's phenomenal, the energy that they can bring.
Ken, would you like to add to that?
Yes. Basically about 25 years ago, technology was that we went from like relay systems and we moved over to PLCs. And through the last 25 years, we kind of focused on, all of our young people being trained and having PLC background or computers, or they'd be an electrician or something like that. Today, in the last 5 years, everything has gone to automation, robotics, and one of the biggest things is integrating in with the AI systems, is having robots that are actually smart robots. So you can't just get that basic guy that has some PLC background or electrical background. Now you got to have somebody that understands cameras. You got to have somebody that understands bin picking and being able to take parts out of a bin, because we don't want to pay a person to put parts into a magazine. We want to be able to actually have the robot go into a bulk system and pick those parts out and choose what part that I'm going to get from the top. And that's a whole nother level of individual. What we're looking for today, they almost don't exist. The technology is there. We don't have the people trained and ready to go in and actually implement that into manufacturing. We're hiring engineers. That's not their area of expertise. So we're kind of training them and bringing them down to do that. We don't have the people on the lower end to come up and be able to do that. So there's a gap of this new technology in the last 5 years that has association with, artificial intelligence. So that's really where we need to start focusing on.
Very good. All right. So Nicole, we'll have you start with this question. Tell us about your investment in the apprenticeship and work-based learning programs. What challenges have you had to overcome to offer them, and what is your return on investment?
Yeah, I would say the investment is mainly brain and time. And we had two main challenges. The first one, we had local programs all over the world in our plans, but they weren't successful. Also, our local programs here in Peachtree City were not so successful. So we thought about, okay, how can we evolve our programs and make sure they will be successful, and we really build the talent that we need. So we decided to establish the Global Training Center, which supports the plans in building the talent the way they need, not by saying, okay, that's how we do it in Germany, so that's how we now do it also in Peachtree City, but just supporting in and helping out in what are your needs and how can you adjust your training programs and what gives you a good structure and how can you simply set up your program. So I don't want to talk too much about that. That all has been published by the German Ministry of Education as a best practice to show how the German companies can be successful in other countries. But the second one was related to that. The team will not be happy if I tell it officially. So when we talk about, okay, we're starting now with Georgia Cat, we're giving it another try. They were like, oh, Nicole, we've done that before. It doesn't work here. It doesn't work in the United States. No, and then we agreed that we are going to start. And I said, it's not going to work here, but we trust you and we like you, so that's why we support you, but it's not going to work. So I've been hearing that for 3.5 years. We did not hire a second cohort because I thought strategically it's better to see how it works, because I was also concerned about the outcome. And when they were short to their graduation, I asked the team here in the plant, okay, you have to check their skill set and decide if you want to employ them once they have graduated from high school and college. And what happened then is they came back to me and said, are you crazy? They are so good, their skill set, it's so great. Why didn't we hire more? We should have hired 20 of them in every year. And I said, well, you said it's not going to work here. And so this was a great challenge, and I think that's really a great challenge for everyone, because it's not so easy to implement a system. It's not like buying a few books and maybe deciding someone's a mentor. You really have to invest time in the training, because the most important part from the employer side is the on-the-job training, and the more you focus on that, the better will be your outcome.
Thank you.
Go ahead. You're up.
So from our standpoint, our group is also German-based, and we have a very extensive knowledge and understanding, globally of the German apprenticeship program, and bringing that to the U.S. has a huge challenge, especially communicating the advantages to students and parents. Getting the students and parents on board with the programs and bringing the advantages to the people responsible for the financial sides. The investments are tremendous when you build a program from nothing. For companies like us, we understand the advantages globally, but bringing these programs, our group in Germany they've had an apprenticeship program for more than 60 years. So they know the advantages, the investments are there. They build those investments each year, but to bring these investments new to a company, we started this program with Larry and Mark last year. And we have a dedicated person on staff who does nothing but supervise and help teach these students. They're not part of our production stream. They're part of our education program. So, we created dedicated workspaces. We have dedicated machinery. We have, tremendous investments to bring this on board to educate the future. And so it's a challenge for companies in the beginning, for sure.
Right, and know we're running short on time, so we're going to skip to the last question. And Noah, if you'd kick it off, and we'll just ask each of you to add your thoughts really succinctly. What can be done to increase the number of apprenticeships and the companies who offer them?
I think one of the things that would help increase the apprenticeships would be just making sure companies are tying off with the schools is the biggest step. For us, once we got that buy-in from the school, working with the CEC and West Georgia Tech, understanding the its instructors and how they cared about helping push to get people in the right position, that made it to where we were willing to open up a lot more apprenticeships. So we opened up 1 or 2 the very first year. As we got in a little bit deeper, we've got 13 right now in different areas. Not all here from CEC, I think 9. But as we work through that, I think building that relationship was the biggest thing. And part of it is having instructors who care. And I think one of the things we could help on our side is just making sure the instructors here have been very good to work with. Some of the other schools we work with, they're coming in to teach, and that's it. They really aren't pushing to help the kids. And I think that's the biggest thing that helps this apprenticeship take off compared to where we're getting a few of the others. So I'd say between West Georgia Tech campuses, There's only, out of the 13 interns I have, there's only one that doesn't go to West Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I'll just mimic some of that real quick. I know from time standpoint, the point is very good. The instructors are so important. Even as we've had students going through the apprenticeship program, there's times when we'll call back, talk to the instructor to just verify how are they doing on the work. They're asking us how are they doing when they're in the workforce. Because you got to think, a lot of the times we're taking very young, I don't want to call them kids, but very young adults and dropping them into a workforce with a bunch of 40, 50, 60-year-olds that are out there. It's not their normal atmosphere. And we want to make sure it works. The more apprentices you have, the better it is. They have people to work with. So I guess the biggest thing I would say from an employer standpoint, how to make this continue to grow is, from our standpoint, we want to reap the benefits. We want to hire more. We're willing to commit our time, our services, our dollars to help do that, but we need to see the students. And I think a lot of that has to come also from the working relationship between the schools and the employers, getting in front of the parents. I remember the first days of walking into the libraries, seeing there's 50 or 60 ninth graders there, and you're trying to tell them to decide on their career. You would have believed some of the looks we got at that point. But as time worked and we met with the parents, the toughest thing was selling it to the parents. And the ones that bought into it, I think, are very appreciative of it.
Yeah, and I would agree. The mentors are crucially for the success, and I think it all sounds that easy. You're just a mentor. You get your curriculum and then go ahead. But what I notice is when I see our mentors here in the United States, it's hard for them to do this. It's easy to do training in a dedicated area, but when you're to the shop floor and you're trying to move those kids to the shop floor, it's so hard to understand how that works. For us, it's easy in Germany because I've been trained that way, but here it's very hard to understand, okay, I'm starting my day, this is what's going on the shop floor, and how do I get this kid involved? And I think we should have some training for this kind of questions. And if I can make a wish, I would love to have more exchange. We can send apprentices or trainers from Germany to United States to learn from each other. Until now, there has been no funding to go the opposite way. If at someday we can have something like that, that would be very great, because we can learn from each other, and that's what helps the industry to move on. Thank you.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Panelists, thank you for your time today and for being with us. And to the committee, thank you.
Larry, let me ask you one question just for clarification.
Sure.
These were 4 employers from 4 different counties. They all come here to get their interns and apprentices. Is that right?
That's right. In so many counties, I can tell you the need is endemic. Every manufacturer has these needs, but not every manufacturer has a CEC available to them.
Thanks, Larry. Let me ask Cole McKeon. Cole, come on up front if you would. I want you to welcome Cole McKeon. Cole was one of the original grads in this program. Cole, how's it going? What did this program do for you?
Everything's going good. First, I'd like to thank everybody for having me here. The program done a lot for me. Of course, it took a lot of work and efforts on my end, but I came out of high school with an associate's degree, my high school diploma. I came into the workforce. I still work for EGO. I started there when I was 15. I'm now 22. Throughout my time there, I've been able to move out at 19, buy a house at 20 years old, and live by myself and go to and from to work.
Cole, you've gotten multiple promotions at EGO.
Yes, sir. I started out in the apprenticeship program, then I went to a line tech position. From there, I went into the shop as a maintenance tech. From there, I was a machinist. And then from there, I got the PM coordinator position. So now I'm the PM coordinator with EGO.
What does PM coordinator do?
It's preventive maintenance coordinating. So I coordinate and plan all the preventive maintenance in the plant.
Cole, who was the competition? How old were the competitors for that promotion to PM coordinator?
In-house, we had multiple guys, 35 plus years of age with 20 years of experience in the plant and other fields as well. So,
And the 20-year-old got the job.
yes, sir.
To what do you attribute that? Why did you get the job versus the 35 plus?
I think I got it based off my skills and knowledge that the apprenticeship allowed me to gain throughout the years. You know, it was just a good jump start.
Cole, what would you tell parents and students who are looking at this program? We want more. What do we need to tell them?
I think we just need to simplify everything. You know, don't make it so complex. You know, knowledge will come on. You know, you need to start the simple things. You know, you'll get education. That's what the parents want. That's what the students will get. You'll actually get more education than a typical high school student. Like I said, I had an associate's degree before my high school diploma. With that said, it's just, you got to really open your eyes to the opportunity that's here. And I would not be where I'm at today if it wasn't for the apprenticeship program itself.
Cole, thanks. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks for being here.
Of course, thank y'all.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
I think
Cole,
we have another question.
Cole, not necessarily a question, but I just want to make a comment that, you know, we as legislators and lawmakers, you know, typically the higher you go, the longer it takes for us to kind of see the fruits of what we do. And, you know, I was not elected in 2015 when the original law was passed, or 2016 when it was changed. But, you know, I did get elected in 16, sworn in 17, and one of the very first, not one of, the very first political event I did as an elected official was watch you sign your papers to come into this apprenticeship program. And so when I sit here and see the young man that you've become and the career that is taken off, we get to see the fruits of our labors. And so I want to say thank you for buying into the program. And we as legislators, you know, we try to provide opportunity, but it's up to you to jump through that window of opportunity and make something of it, and you have done that. And so very proud of you. Thank you for being here, and it's awesome. Thank you.
Again, thank y'all.
Let me ask Ms. April Parker if she'd come to the mic. Former Board of Education member, yes. School Council Chair at East Coweta High School. April, welcome.
Thank you.
April, what do we need to do to get more parents and students to buy into this program?
Wow. Well, can I first just let people
Absolutely.
know how I'm connected with this? So I have an 11th grader who is 11th grade daughter, who is a part of the machine tooling program. And last year, as a 10th grader, she started really having questions, thinking, what am I going to do with, you know, as a career? And I started to reassure her, telling her, you know, a lot of kids don't know what they're going to do as a 10th grader. And she said, well, my brothers did. And I said, well, you need to come to the CEC. If you want to figure out what you're going to do, you need to come to the CEC. And so we jumped in, I think, December. I said, let's come take a tour with Mark Whitlock. And her eyes just opened. She wanted to do something with her hands. And when she came to the machine tooling lab, that was just a really exciting, she felt like that was really where she needed to be. So doors really opened quickly. She jumped into that program, and in January she started that program. And around that same time, she was given the opportunity to come work for Gerstleheimer. And so things happened really, really quickly for her. She loves what her life has become. So as a 10th grader and now 11th grader, it's just a fabulous school day. She spends 2 blocks here at the CEC. It's actually through West Georgia Tech. It's a dual enrollment program. learning hands-on experience, and that's exactly what she wanted to do. She wanted to figure out what she might want to do in a career. And then she got the wonderful opportunity to come work with Gershenheimer. She started in February, getting real-life experience, and it was their mission to train her in the entire plant, learning everything there. And so two blocks at the here at the CEC through West Georgia Tech, 2 blocks doing her academic at her base high school, and then she spends a few hours a week at her job. So it's been such an amazing opportunity for her. She worked through the summer, and now she knows that's the course she wants to go into. I just can't thank this program enough for what it's done for her. And her friends are blown away by what she has the opportunity to do. And then she got set up with an incredible mentor, and that just changed everything for her because she's a part of this just precious little team, and so much of what she's learning in her class really correlates with what she's doing at work. So, but anyway, the question was, what can we do? What was the question?
What can we do to get more parents and students to buy in?
Well, I think really the biggest thing is just to let them know. I certainly knew about the CEC. I knew, but I think, for my daughter, she wanted to have that hands-on career, but she said, well, Mom, I came and took a tour when I was in 8th grade, and I'm like, but you didn't take it with Mark Whitlock. So I think for her, it was coming back in and really seeing it in a different light. So I think it's really just letting them know what they have the possibility to do. And as she and I talk about, for her, this is a career path she wants to take. Last year when we started, she wasn't sure, but I said, all of that's good. That's okay if that's not what you end up wanting to do. The whole point is you're getting that hands-on experience. So I think, just telling people's story, knowing that they have the opportunity. If she wasn't taking these classes at the CEC, she'd been taking PE or whatever she'd been taking. I mean, how much more valuable is this opportunity? So I think just getting the word out. Her friends are all super excited about, the opportunity that she's had. So does that answer the question?
It does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks very much. Yes, sir. Yeah. Have a question for Ms. Parker?
Yes, April. So as a parent, what, Irene had mentioned simplifying things, and as a parent, what can we do for this program as legislators and as a committee? What are some things we could do to make it easier on the parents for this program? Is there one thing or two things, or just get out of the way?
Yeah, I don't know what you could do to make things simpler. I know when we really dove in to find out more about it, it was super exciting. So I think really it's just a matter of, letting parents know the opportunity that's there. I love the idea that you guys had coming to speak to 9th graders. Yeah. That I think that's a great opportunity, I'm not sure. That's a hard question.
No, that's fine.
For us, once we dove into it, it actually felt pretty simple because, you have generally 2 electives at high school and 2 academics. So for us, we weren't taking away that option of her going to college. We were just filling it with, something here at the CEC. So
got it. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me ask Dr. Evan Horton, Dr. Julie Post, Dr. Dawn Revere, Ms. Kristen Bowie, if you'd come up. It's the educational partners who implement this on a day-to-day basis. And I want Dr. Horton, Dr. Post, if you'd start us off at the microphone by answering the question, why is this a strategic fit for your institution?
Well, Mark, I'll tell you, and members of the committee, the reason it's a strategic fit in our organization is because it's directly in our strategic plan. You know, when you look at establishing priorities for a school system, the ones that you specifically mentioned in your strategic plan are your top ones. Our strategic plan talks about, in partnership with parents and the community, providing relevant and engaging work for students. This certainly fits right there. We also talk about perpetuating a culture of innovation. This is the highest level of innovation out there, taking students' aptitudes and innovating in a way that meets their need, whatever that need is. Then the third way we do that in our strategic plan, we have a stated goal in our strategic plan to provide advanced opportunities for all students. You know, traditionally, we looked at advanced opportunities as taking an AP course or maybe taking dual enrollment academic courses, something along those lines. There are tons of other advanced opportunities for kids. An apprenticeship, I would argue, for a kid that's ready to go and be a productive member of the workforce is every bit as much an advanced opportunity as the opportunity to take an AP class. So it fits strategically because it is woven throughout our strategic plan. So.
Thank you, Dr. Post.
Hello again. The mission of the Technical College System of Georgia is clearly workforce development. That's what we do. That's what we spend all of our time on. At West Georgia Tech, we say the answer is yes. What is the question? You know, we're pushed every single day to find better ways to do what we do, to find faster ways to do what we do, to find stackable ways to do what we do, to shrink it down to bits and pieces that we can get people into the workforce quicker with the skills that they need. But that's not a dead end either. It's just a stack, a way to go, as Dr. Kelly mentioned. Continue if you want, all the way up. I think for us, we know the importance of college. We know how important it is to parents. What we're trying to do is demystify that and change how we look at it and how we look at college education. As you know, when you spoke to or heard from the student that spoke, he's not done. He keeps going. This is not an end, and parents is the way that we need to change that. For us, our strategic plan is consistently revolving around what do we do in our communities, the programs we serve, we create, and we offer to meet the needs of our community. It's not what we want to teach, it's not what we like to teach, it's what do the business and industries need, and how can we do that from below us through us. And so that's why Dr. Horton and I work well together with Dr. Whitlock and continue to find ways how can we do that and give this to the opportunity for people to get into these business and industries. You know, the greatest state to do business and all the jobs that come to us, I'd be willing to bet if you could calculate it out, more than 50% of those are probably either high school graduates with some education or technical college graduates. That doesn't mean that the rest aren't there. That doesn't mean we don't need doctors and lawyers, but for every doctor, 12 to 15 of those people that support them are technical college graduates. Why can't they be high school graduates at the same time? So we continue to work on ways, and our mission is just to continue to find those academic pathways. It's all about partnerships and pathways with us, I think.
Dr. Revere, let me ask you to step to the mic. Coweta has, I think today, 131 students in accelerated career programs. That's more than double what we had last year. What are some best practices that you are using connected with the high school coordinator with West Georgia Tech? What are some things that we're doing that help parents and students get into the program and make it work?
Well, our main goal is for our students to be successful and productive members of society. And so we recognize that there are a lot of students who realize what career field they want to pursue. And then there are other students who just want to explore career opportunities that are outside of the traditional classroom setting. And so since first we have to identify what the student needs are. And so what we've done is advertise the program a lot to parents because, like Ms. Parker said, we have to have parent buy-in. So we host nights, accelerated career nights for parents and students to come and learn more about the program. But one of the most effective practices is communication. And we have to have very good communication with parents because this program is so different from a traditional high school diploma. And so instead of relying on flyers and relying on big programs and presentations, we pick up the phone and talk to parents or ask them to come in for face-to-face meetings so that we can answer any questions they have so they can have a full understanding of what the program entails.
Great, thank you. Ms. Bowie, it takes partnership. West Georgia Tech knows how to do that. You've adjusted schedules. You've helped with great instructors. Talk a little bit about the flexibility that you've employed to help West Georgia Tech make this work.
I think it starts with reiterating what everyone here has said today, and that's the importance of partnerships. You know, it starts with the high school counselors and getting that information out there and explaining, here are the on-ramps. There's multiple ways. There's junior year, senior year, for some it's the 10th grade year. And then, of course, multiple off-ramps. Are you finishing your associate's degree? Are you going on to the next level? And as you mentioned, you've almost doubled enrollment, which means that we're running out of capacity. And so, for example, I know in a couple of our programs, we have dual enrollment students who are actually coming at night because we don't have the capacity during the day any longer. And that's instructors and space and all of the other things. So we really have to have very open and clear lines of communications between, you know, CEC's been a fabulous partner with us, and making sure that we have that information so that we can, and early, and having those enrollment numbers early so that we can adjust in between. So summer, for example, is a great time for us to sort of ramp up to accommodate. So communication, communication, communication.
Great. Thank you all very much. Mr. Chair, I make one more comment. Manufacturing in Coweta County is the highest paying among the high employing industries. We continue to attract more and more manufacturing. It starts first with investment by these existing employers. We've got folks who couldn't be here today with us because we've got prospects in town. So this is, Candace, prosperity's front door, and it happens because, just like everybody here has said, we know how to all work together. It's a great system. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Mark, and members of the panel and everybody that came up and spoke. We appreciate you, not just for being here today and speaking, but for the value you're bringing to our communities by really getting out there and training our kids and getting them ready for the workforce. Did have a couple of late arrivals I did want to announce. We've got our friend over there from Decatur, our Senator Elena Parent, who is on this committee and was very instrumental in helping pass SB 86. So, or Senator Parent, thank you for all you do. Thank you for being here.
Mr. Chairman.
And also want to recognize our principal here at the CEC, Hap Hines. Hap is back there in the back. Hap, appreciate all you do. All the various schools you've been at, doing a great job, and just appreciate you. And he's my neighbor too, and we actually share a dog. So, different story for a different day. But also, this production that we're doing today, the entire thing is put on by kids here at CEC. So I want to commend them, congratulate them. Every bit of it, except for the video that didn't play, an adult did that part. But everything else is them doing it, and it's just fantastic. Thank you for the setup, and just y'all are doing a great job. Film industry is very important to this county and to this state, and so we want to make sure that we have a proper workforce for that as well. The public comments, well, that's kind of where we're at right now. Last we checked, nobody signed up to speak. So if you did not sign up and you would like to say something, now would be the appropriate time. Phil couldn't handle 30 seconds. So,
that knows me too well.
Yeah,
No.
Come on up, Phil.
We've heard some great success stories, but I wanted to share a personal story because that ties it in. My 15-year-old let me back up for just a second. My dad has a PhD. I have a master's degree, so I was a letdown. My son wanted to drop my youngest out of high school because I'm never going to use that. I don't get it. I don't like it. He came on a tour of CEC, fell in love with welding. He would have been a high school dropout. He had 4 technical certificates from West Georgia Technical College, graduated from there on Wednesday, and from Noonan High on Friday. He would not have succeeded if it were not for this program. I appreciate that. He's 26 now and doing very well. So that's a little bit longer fruits of labor before we had the German apprenticeship program and some of the other stuff. But those core programs here give kids a path to success that they would not otherwise have. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Phil. Anyone else? Okay, members of the committee, does anybody have any comments or questions? Senator Parent, I know you got something.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and apologies that I was scooting in late, everybody. I'm really excited about everything that we've learned today, and I've been, it's wonderful to hear about the success of these programs, and of course what's going through my mind are, one of the reasons I've long been excited about this type of program and apprenticeships is because of exactly what our last speaker said, that I feel like we lose a lot of kids that if they had the opportunity to do something like this and could really see the relevance that, avoiding dropping out and instead having a successful career is really what hangs in the balance. Not to mention, of course, the need for further employees who have these skills for all of our companies. And so in the position we're in, and maybe this is something that the committee just needs to drill down on more at another time, but I'm thinking, okay, we're hearing that kids need to have more awareness of the opportunities that are out there, and parents need more awareness, and maybe it's like a little bit of hand-holding with parents and kids. And then you also need more employers that then feel like they are able to buy into it, and then it can sort of build and grow on itself. And it seems to me that we've been able to see some of that happen so far in Georgia, and what I think all of us would like to see is it be able to grow fairly exponentially. And so some of it's it doesn't sound like something that is directly legislative, right? It sounds like some of it's a little bit organic, and then maybe best practices and putting into place all these things where the word can really spread. But what I want to hear more about is what can we do in our role to really bring the whole thing to blossom to where Georgia can really be an example in the United States for these type of, academic to high skill career opportunities that we see thriving so much in several other countries, and that we've got our toe in, but what can we do to move this along even faster is kind of what I'm sitting here thinking about.
Absolutely.
Everybody, I'm Dan Weber, former state senator, currently the executive director of the Charter System Foundation. We're a nonprofit supported by contributions from the 48 charter systems in Georgia. We also do work with Dr. Barbara Wall, Tiffany Taylor at the DOE under a contract. For several years now, our consultants, of which we now have 6, have been promoting Option B, Accelerated Career. So Irene leads a monthly WebEx where we normally have 40 or 50 people from around the state participating. We ask, what is the key? CEC is the gold standard. Mr. Whitlock is on all of these WebExes and very much involved. Dawn Revere, I'm going to give a shout out to her, because the key is the high school counselors and the college and career academy CEOs. We need to educate them first. So when Irene talks about simplifying things, those are things that we're studying as a group, and we have ideas. We're promoting the Phoebe model to other districts. There are some good things going on. Representative Evans, just south of your district in College Park, I think you probably know about what was known as the Middle College is now the Promise Career Institute. Fulton County has taken an old high school, McLaren High School, totally remodeling it. As of August 5, 2024, they hope to open their doors with 400 accelerated career students. And the new superintendent in Decatur, Dr. Gemma Whitaker, was the one who put together that program for Fulton County. So there's an opportunity in Decatur. And this Friday, Senator, we're having a conversation with Christy Bream in Decatur, who's opening a charter school, and she wants to focus on accelerated career in Decatur. So there are opportunities like that. There are a lot of logistical challenges for a lot of districts who are trying to do this. If you're in South Georgia and you don't have an economic base, Evans County, for instance, I think about 70% of their residents are on government assistance. They've got Claxton Poultry and Claxton Fruitcake. But what they're looking at is serving the new Hyundai plant that's being built down there, serving the Georgia Ports Authorities. There are a lot of logistical challenges associated with that. So, so we appreciate the leadership of this committee. Very important what you've done with Senate Bill 86. Very important what you're doing in this study committee. We look forward to working with you.
Can I ask a quick follow-up?
Sure.
It's good to see you, Senator Weber. Thanks for being with us and all of your work over these years. So you mentioned something that I wanted to ask about a little bit more, which is the role that the high school counselors will play.
Yes.
So it's been my understanding, and we did a little bit of work on this with, and I know Governor Kemp had put it out there as part of his budget this past session, but it's been my understanding during the years I've been in the Senate that we've had a pretty abysmal, frankly, ratio of counselors to students, and that matters a lot if you're talking about actually being able to guide these kids, if that is indeed an important role as part of this process. And I'm wondering if you could speak to that and tell us, you know, I mean, obviously that's a budgetary impact, but maybe is that something we need to be lifting up as a committee? Just like to hear your thoughts.
Yes, absolutely is a short answer to your question. And there's some new leadership at the DOE, Dr. Sheila McKeon. You all know Dr. Barbara Wall, I assume, no introduction. She leads the CTAE, Deputy Superintendent at DOE, so I look to her. Ben McCumber, also from TCSG, playing a huge new role at TCSG, leading his group to support accelerated career. They're the ones that came up with that phrase, accelerated career, which is great. But Sheila McKeon, we met with her recently. She's very much in favor of additional funding for school counselors. I think funding was added this last legislative session, but not enough. And her basic point is that if you're a high school counselor, you're spending 80% of your time with the Tier 3 and Tier 4 students, not the Tier 1 and Tier 2 students. So we need more counselors to be able to focus on that, and you usually have to have somebody who's dedicated as a best practice for counseling and leading the accelerated career pathway effort. And I think Dr. Revere is a good example of that. She's recognized as an expert. So those are some ideas that I'll throw out to you. So.
To the two senators here, Senator Parent, to your question, to Senator's point, one of the things that we saw this year and a lot of the discussion that was had in my office around funding those additional counselors was also the shift that we've seen over the last, and pick your number, I think we can all agree on 3 years for sure, but maybe 4 or 5 years, that the role of that counselor has not just been career readiness and accelerated programs and bringing parents in and entertaining employers. It's been as much around mental health and the wellness, and we could spend 2 more study committee sessions just around that. And so I heard a lot from those counselors that the need and the demand, this is no profound statement, and I'm not don't read between the lines here, but I heard them say that it's almost there's two jobs
Yes.
of a counselor. It's the mental and physical well-being, and then it's, oh yes, it's also the career readiness and the academic readiness. And I would never ask the question, and I don't think anyone here would, which comes first. And I think that's the ultimate challenge. And when we focus on funding, you make a very good point. But
Mr. Chairman, I would submit there might be some overlap between the two. To the extent you can take the student who's in 10th or 11th grade, is not engaged, doesn't see the traditional high school diploma as being relevant to their life, and you can put them on a pathway where they can work with their hands, it's very good for that student. One of the things that motivates me for what I do is when I talk with our superintendents, whether it's Evans County, Ben Hill County in South Georgia, small rural districts, or Fulton County schools, where College Park has an average household income of $18,000. If you can take a 17 or 18-year-old, they graduate from high school coming from a family that's in generational poverty, what the superintendents say is that's transformational, not only for that student, but for that family, because they can come out making $45,000 or more a year. And there's a junior in high school down in Evans County who's currently making $22 an hour, more than the combined income of his parents. I think that's great motivation for what you're doing.
thank you. Representative Evans.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Senator. This has been wonderful. I mean, to me, education is the only transformative thing that we do, or it's the best transformative thing we do in government. How can we do it better? And I think what I've witnessed through this is that we've built something great. We went in and we changed a little, we tweaked it a little. We have gotten it a little convoluted and complex. If you know, you know, but if you don't, you don't. And I think if your parents are on it, if you've got people at your school that are on it, if you've got educated people around you who will figure it out, you'll get there, and then there's some word of mouth there. But what we've got to do, I think, and what I see as my charge on this committee is making sure that we come up with legislation that makes this work for everybody. And if you're in a family where no one went to college, no one's in the know in the educational system, how do we make sure you learn about it and that it works for you and you don't just throw up your hands and say, maybe that's great, but it's too hard. I think the counselors are a great place for advertisement. I want to make sure, one of the things I hope we do on the committee is make sure that the curriculum for counselors includes making sure that the counselors are learning through their higher education training how great this is. Because when you go through, I mean, and I'm a liberal arts major who went to law school, so what the hell do I know? But when you go through, what you do is generally what you know what you know. And so counselors that go through a traditional four-year school, they have that mindset and it's not their fault. So they need to be trained as well. And we need to make sure that that's part of what we do here. But then I hope that we look at, I'm always looking for ways, how do we get more money in the technical college system? How do we make it more attractive? How do we make that look to all parents as just as wonderful as going to the great University of Georgia where I went? We need that. Go Dogs. Always. And Steve Rowe and Dirty Jobs started that path for us on television. I think we should really focus on how do we put some budgetary money into advertisement through social media, reach the kids where they are, show how attractive this is. And a big part of that is showing what kind of money you can make. We hear inspirational stories and that's great, but if I'm a high school kid, I want to know, how much money am I going to make? How is this really relevant to me? And that also is going to attract parents. So I'm super excited, and I think more ideas than probably we have time for, but I hope we explore all of them.
Thank you. And I'll follow up with a story on that in a minute, but Scott, you had a question or comment?
Yeah, just general comment. Today, I'm so focused in healthcare, and today, really helped me connect a lot of other dots. Here in the four businesses, I think every one of them said we can expand if we had the talent. What a blessing that is for our state and for our communities. that you're able to expand. That's more tax base. That's better schools. That's churches. Everybody thrives when that happens. So I just wanted to say it really helped connect a lot of dots for me today. And what I heard was we need to simplify it, and then we need to amplify it to our high school counselors, our parents, and certainly our students. And then just the last comment was on high school counselors, right? Maybe that's the right title, and maybe it's not right. Maybe the word counselor kind of gets in that mental health need, which is certainly there, right? Maybe that needs to be separated. But I also think as we think about funding for a high school counselor, I'll speak for our business, and I get in trouble from my CFO committing a lot of our resources to workforce. But in healthcare, we're in the people-to-people business, or people caring for people. But I think that we'd find a lot of businesses that would be willing to partner on high school counselors and partner on hiring people and hiring more, especially if they're going to be able to do that sort of amplifying to parents and to students. These are the opportunities. I've got I've got 2 daughters and my 25-year-old who, mom and dad always said your path is a 4-year college, right? I mean, there was no question. And I recall days that she was pushing back on that, and I was blind to it. I'll admit that. And she got her degree. She got her degree in teaching, and today she's in cosmetology school. Because I finally probably grew up a little bit as a dad and realized she's an adult and she needs to make those decisions. But that's what. And I can see in her schooling, that's what she loves, right? And I should have been listening to her early on. And so that's where I think, as parents, we've got these are hard jobs, but they're always a blessing. And so those are some of the things I just picked up today. Is what an incredible opportunity this is for the state of Georgia and for our communities, and just so pleased to be part of it.
Fine. We haven't built it yet. Just truthfully, there's only about 450 students in accelerated career, and we've tripled that over the last 3 years. But 450 out of how many high school graduates there are, and I hope that next week or in your third meeting, when y'all start looking at data, words mean things. Today in Georgia, when you say dual enrollment, everybody thinks academic. And we fund academics. So I hope that you look at that data as it relates to what you're spending your academic dollars on, as well as how much you're spending versus your technical dual enrollment dollars. And then the other thing that I hope you see or demand that you see is articulation agreements. Mm-hmm. You saw at Phoebe, they did an excellent CTAE program that was articulated into a CNA that went from 12 hours of your dollars being spent to 9 hours of your dollars being spent dual enrollment wise. And then they're real streamlined to get to an associate. I don't know if there's a 2+2 agreement with that. I sure hope there is, and I hope you're going to demand that of your technical college and your 4-year degree partner. And in the past, we've had a lot of conversations about 2+2 agreements. Be honest with you, I've been doing this now for a long time. I don't know where those 2+2 agreements exist. I'm just not sure of those. And I'd hope you guys would ask for that data to see, because a student who graduated with an associate degree in applied science from West Georgia Technical College, the idea that they would not have all of that transferred into another program to finish out a 4-year degree if that student chooses to do it. I bet you if y'all had asked Cole, are you going to go ahead and get a 4-year degree? He might go, well, I'm already making $80,000 or $90,000 a year right now, so I'm not sure. I might just do whatever. So I don't know about that. But that, I think, is and then Lynn started out talking about silos. Y'all, we still have silos that are alive and well. They're just alive and well. And I just think that's critically important that as you guys look at this, that you really, really try to break those silos down. And I would suggest, Representative Evans, we still don't have technical education equal to academic education. You saw that at the Phoebe program. All of the parents were all wanting to make sure their 30 hours of academic was held for academic education to get that 4-year degree, which is what, and it was the technical that, with all due respect to it, that was substandard. Well, that's not what Phoebe wanted to say, and it's sure not what these gentlemen want to say as it relates to the importance of that technical education. And then if you're going to invest dollars too, you've got to look at your instructor dollars. Paying technical college adjunct instructors is just not, you're not going to attract their robotics people out of the industry to come in for, I think it's what, $1,800 a semester maybe, to do instruction. And you're sure not going to become full-time instructors. And the way most of our college and career academies are overcoming that is with agreements between the technical college certifying the CTAE or high school instructor to teach. So you've got the funding coming down for that high school teacher, and the $1,800 just becomes a little bit of gravy on top of that in that instructor's salary. So there's a ton of partnerships happening to make that happen. So there's a lot, those type of breaking down silos is really what has to occur. But before we go and advertise, let's not do it on a statewide basis, because again, y'all are teaching at night now because you run out of space for these programs. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's instructors. How are you going to find the instructor to come in? And to me also, and I'll get off my soapbox, is over and I hope that you'll see this on meeting 3 when does their presentation about where the jobs are and how critical that is, getting a real focus on incentivizing all of these regional programs to develop high demand, high wage, high skilled jobs, and get real focused on that and incentivize that in some way. And if that's money, then great. If it's reducing red tape or somehow incentivizing that, that's just critical.
If I could, before Chairman Brass bangs the gavel and adjourns, to our partners in industry, thank you to Representative Evans' point and to Scott's point, a very, very brief story. My dad's a private person, so he would not want me sharing this story, so we'll leave that out. But I took someone after I first got elected to Lanier Tech. It was in my district. My predecessor in this legislative role was their focus on industry and attracting industry and partnership between students. And I asked the question that day, what's the biggest problem in this whole equation? All the things that we're talking about today, attracting students into apprenticeship programs. I grew up in a manufacturing home. And this instructor who was there without missing a beat said, it's the parents. My dad looked and said, what's their problem? And he said, this instructor said, well, most 90+% of the parents we deal with want better for their children. My dad said, well, sure, I said the same about my son. The instructor said, but when we're talking about a diesel mechanic program and you have parents who weren't in that program and have no clue how much money that student's going to make, the idea of that student coming home with grease under their fingernails doesn't sound that attractive. And he said, and if you don't believe me about that, I'll take you next door to the plumbing program. And they don't talk about grease under fingernails. But the changing statement where it really hit home for me was my dad said, well, what changes their mind? What changes the parent's mind? the instructor said, when we are able to tell them that their students, like Cole, at a very young age are going to come home and make more money than mom and dad, and in some cases, mom and dad combined. And so my statement there, Chairman Brass, would be to our industry partners, please come to us, and I say that from a legislative standpoint, be present and help us, legislators from all over, understand what industry is bringing to the table. And Irene, to your point, it's not just, oh, that dual enrollment program, or, oh, they've got this apprenticeship program in Coweta County, and I'm sure it's working well for them. Or the more we know, the more we can advocate for, and the more that we can ultimately be responsible for and bring to the table. But we need to know that the demand is there. So again, to our industry partners, thank you so much for what you're doing and for being here today to educate us on what's available. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'll add too, I think Representative Evans, you kind of hit the nail on the head here when we talked about, this. I think we all agree this is a great program. I don't think anybody here will disagree with that, but we want to make sure that it is available to every student in Georgia, no matter where you live in this state, no matter what kind of home life you have, no matter what, we want this program available for everyone. And as I kind of discussed in our very first meeting down in Albany, one of the charges of this committee is making sure that we have a sustainable program. We know it's a great program, but we want to make sure that it's built to last. And so one thing I think, and I'm gonna put this out there, and it will be on the agenda for the third meeting, is I'd like to see some data around CTAE programs and how do we come up with that list, and how do we measure that list? And because I think a lot of times when we see a great program, a lot of times what can happen is it can expand and expand and expand to the point to where it's not sustainable. And so while we want every student to have opportunity here, we've got to make sure that, in my mind, that when we're looking at high demand, that is truly high demand and not some, some politically driven, and I'm just throwing that out there, but we want to make sure it's actual high demand. We don't want some, I don't want Chairman Dubnik to come along and say, hey, I want to add this program. And because he's a well-respected representative, it automatically gets put on the program. That's how things like this get non-sustainable. So I'd like to see a little data around these programs, how, what defines them as high demand, so that we make sure that this list is truly maintains the integrity that it needs to maintain, so that this program can maintain the integrity. But with that being said, again, Dr. Horton, Hap, Mark, thank you so much for opening your doors to the committee. And with that, we're gonna adjourn. Phil, we'll talk offline. Meeting adjourned.